Alright, let's see if this works. Okay, I think I'm there. Hello everyone. Let's just see if where did the channel settings go? Here we go. I'll do the share thing in a minute. I'm just going to change the featured video, because some people are just going to go to the channel, I know, because that's what I told them to do. Okay, I'll just share it around. Let's get the page going. Okay, I'll just share it around. So Facebook. I see I've got some. Hey, I've got some people already in there. That's good. Cool. Just share to Facebook and now to Twitter. Oh, no, Elon. This is my first post since my first live stream since you took over, mate. Yeah. Oh my goodness me! Just imagine. Oh, it's so fun. I love it. It's not. I'll say more about Elon Musk taking over Twitter later. Let me just share this around the place. There we go. So there. And to this group. Hope you guys in chat are alright. I'll come and talk to you again in a minute. If there's any problems, like send in messenger, okay. I don't know what I'll do. This is kind of an experiment too, because the damn. I'll tell you about the camera in a minute. Okay. So let me go to the live stream channel and I'll just do the zoom thing. It's Control Plus. And I want to say a big hello to everyone. We got a lot of people here tonight. Oh, loads of people there. User 1, hello. In there first again. Lisa, Cry Freedom. Evening band, loud and clear. Thanks, Lisa. Rhiannon Jones, hey, how you doing? Is it okay to call you that? Well, you call yourself that, yeah. Hey, Rhiannon. Hello, Israel Diego Rivera, Genius 2, the real genius. Hi, Snarnock. Hi, Woody Black. Hi, Bernie Tucker, how you doing? Martin Taylor, good evening. Alex Ritchie, how you doing? Woody Black, oh yeah, I need to ask him to unban me from Twitter. Yeah, Woody, there's going to be a lot of unbannings going on. Trump will be back soon. Hello, Nocturnal Frequency Radio. Hello, Jock of Ages. Hi, Sorenable. Hello, David Schultz. Greetings. David Schultz says, about the Macron election or any election on the planet, it's not the people who vote that count, it's the people who count the votes. Joe Stalin. Yeah. We'll come on to that. Well, I'll come on to it in as much detail as I can on YouTube. But we'll be tackling that subject, yeah. Now, the camera, I haven't managed to... I'm using my new camera again. I mean, I don't want... I was thinking of getting the spare one out again. But I mean, I bought this camera. I should use it. If it's working, I'm going to use it. The main problem seems to be with the recording rather than live streaming. But I can't find a way to adjust the resolution. I mean, I need, ideally, to find a way to lower the resolution on this camera. I've tried using Control Panel and OBS, and it doesn't seem to have that ability. But I can see I'm jerking a little bit on the video. With the comments reply video, it literally got so bad that I realised it was going to take me. It was going to take me about 2 days simply to compress the files using VideoPad. And I thought, no, sorry, I'll just convert it to audio. That's why it was an audio-only comments reply video. I won't do another comments reply video until I know that I can fix it, or I'll make sure I take the time to compress the files. But thanks for joining me, guys. Thanks for joining me. Hopefully, a few more people will arrive soon. It's good you're here. Where are we now? I'll also go for your notice comments while other people arrive. So Steve Mumbling says, asking, this is on the notice that I posted for this live stream, which I'll delete after I've done the live stream, asking me for more videos, and now this, blimey, I may catch some of the third hour while I'm having my breakfast, but I won't be able to join in as I work for a living. Well, so do I, Steve. But fair enough. But it's a bit later this time because 9 p.m. as I said, it's a bit later. So if you can, you're very welcome. I see you've been trying to do some live streaming. Excuse me. Also found out that Pentecostal Orthodox Trans Rabbit has decided not to comment anymore. He got banned by the mods, and I know that the mods here, I've got Lisa and Claire have the spanner. I don't think they wouldn't have done that for no reason. I didn't see what he said, but apparently he called me a rude name. So, well, it's up to you, Rabbit. If you want to be polite, you can come back. Woody Black says, maybe Elon Musk can buy France next. Bloody hope so. Israel Diego Rivera, genius to the real genius, says, Le Fix. Oh, I think can I break the rules on misinformation in speaking French? Kate Woolley said, merde. Good word that, merde. You know what that means in French. So guys, where are we now? Okay, so Jock of Ages says, I have 2 slices of toast, one with rhubarb jam and the other with a scrape of lime jam and Nutella. Sounds delicious. So welcome everyone. I'll now go through. The lead off. I don't have much of a lead off actually. It's fairly simple stuff really. But I did say a while ago that this would be a highly significant moment, the French presidential election. I mean, it's not the end of the election period. There's actually three stages to the election. The third one is in June, when the Parliament is voted for. The Parliament will decide how much power the actual president has on domestic issues, especially. But the selection of the president is very important. The fact that Emmanuel Macron has been re-elected is very important in French politics. It's the crucial moment, which I think is why I think this is a very, very significant moment. It really is. As you know, I mean, I was rooting for Marine Le Pen. I wanted her to win. I consider her the French Trump. I think she would have, if she won, or if she does, it will be the equivalent. It'll be the equivalent kick in the guts that Brexit and Trump caused in 2016. France is a crucial part of this New World Order agenda, especially as far as the European Union goes. And even though I've got my criticisms of Le Pen, she's backtracked on a lot of what I think is her crucial policies. Most importantly, Frexit, that is, getting France out of the EU. I still consider a win for her would be a massive blow to the New World Order agenda. But there you go. How you doing, guys? Snarnock said, it was either something I can't say, or the majority of French are pro-EU. It was a bit of both, I think, Snarnock. Someone else has put here. Oh, Michel Sovereign. Hello, madame. How are you doing? I feel like watching hello, actually. You can have a laugh. Yeah, Jock of Ages. I'm glad you're enjoying your breakfast, or your whatever you're eating, breakfast, dinner. I don't know where in the world you live. But yeah, we're going to discuss both possibilities, Snarnock. of what actually happened with this election. Woody Black said, I read a lot of people only voted for Macron to vote against Le Pen. Even lefties hate Macron. Yeah, they did this thing where, I am going to put a handkerchief over my face as I voted for Macron. They've done that before. They voted for Chirac. It was actually Marine's father, Jean-Marie Le Pen, who's like one of the most senior statesmen, who's run for president numerous times. He was scuppered. He actually got through to the second round one year against Jacques Chirac. And all, and not just the lefties, but all the centrists, they all went and they put a handkerchief over their nose in disgust as they put the sleep for Chirac into the box. It's ironic though, Chirac is a Gaullist. The Gaullists are out; they're completely out of the back. French politics is like I've been to France a couple of times. I actually learned French at school. I went on school trips. I went on 2 school trips to France. So I've learned a little bit about the politics of the era. Djokovic says they couldn't let Le Pen win after Brexit ruining their plans. Yeah, despite the fact that, I mean, maybe Le Pen backtracked on Frexit so that she wouldn't get quite so much hostility from Brussels. And it may have been part of her plan to then do a 360 and go for Frexit after she was president. In which case it didn't work, did it? It's a trick that didn't work. I think that kind of virtue signalling or counter signalling to the elite doesn't work. It doesn't. They can see through it too easily. Lisa says, always so many connotations on what's going on. I guess we now have to see how awake the French are with their reactions. Not that I've actually been looking, to be honest. Yeah, how awake are they? That's the problem. Now, there's a video by Gemma O'Doherty, obviously not on YouTube. I think she's been banned from YouTube. But it talks about... Let me just find my notes. It talks about some of the things going on behind the scenes. Anyway, I'll tell you where I was. I've been away for a few days, as you know. I was actually in Wales with somebody who... I don't know if they want me to tell them. Somebody who's actually in the live chat right now. I was actually with that person in Wales, and we were doing a little video. I made a little Panmo TV video, which I will hopefully upload in the next couple of days. I'm going to edit it tomorrow. Hopefully, get it up tomorrow. Sorry, Welsh Ripper, you can't say that. I'm afraid. Welsh Ripper has made an interesting. All right, it was with Rhiannon Jones. I was with Rhiannon Jones in. Hello, the Crafty Nihilist. How are you? I was underneath your house the other day. Yes, tunnelling. Oh, I was in a tunnel. Woody Black says a lot of people in France are really unhappy. It feels like something's going to boil over. We're going to come to that, Woody. Something is. France boils over very easily, much more so than Britain. But welcome, Crafty Nihilist. Djokovic says, any thoughts on Gonzalo Lira? Oh, right, this is Coach Red Pill. He's actually Chilean, but he's lived in several countries. He lived in Britain for a while, lived in London. He had a very good channel called Coach Red Pill. And he is living in Ukraine, and he did some very good interviews with the Duran and with several other people, just giving a vision, kind of bypassing the mainstream media propaganda of what was actually going on in Ukraine. And what he revealed was extraordinary. He lives in Kharkiv, but he took a couple of trips to Kiev as well. The buses are still running, the rubbish is still being collected. You know, there's cops on corners, things like that. I mean, it looks like life is going on fairly well in those cities, which runs completely contrary to what we've heard from the BBC. This may be why the government has decided to ban RT, because they don't want that sort of information getting out, because they're propagandising us. Indeed, we've seen that with this election in France. So no wonder they banned RT, because they don't want information like the type that Gonzalo was giving out. Now, Gonzalo has disappeared. He disappeared for a while. He's reappeared now. He actually disappeared a little bit before. Now, I don't know what's really going on. He is a bit of a sensationalist. I thought he might have tried to. There's rumours that he'd been killed, and he may have started these rumours himself. Crafty Analysis in the Dum. That's right, the deep underground military base called the Box Tunnel. Well, actually, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some secret passageways. I did look out the window like that to see if there was any in the wall next to the train as I was passing through the tunnel. Yeah, so that's Alex Ritchie, hello Alex. It's already to Kate. It's going to pan out accordingly. Is that Kate Middleton? Good evening, Rick Horden. How are you? Luke Griffin, hello. Snarnock says, remember the drone footage of the huge lockdown protests in various French cities not shown at MSN? Yes, it was not shown, but it was you get it through alt media. Very often you can't even go to YouTube. Like Gonzalo is not on YouTube anymore. I think he's still got his channel, but he doesn't use it. He's always all his stuff is on BitChute now. He actually doesn't do the Coach Red Pill videos anymore. Woody Black says it's actually like Wag the Dog what they're doing with Ukraine. Yes, and indeed that's the same can be said for. The very same I think can be said for France. Where is Charles from Project Camelot? He's probably got some business to sort out, man. He's probably got some people to do. So he's probably got his baseball bat and he's going around some business, some small business or something to collect his the insurance money. Yep. Nice place you got here. Shame if something was going to happen to it. For a small fee, I can protect it for you. Yeah, Jock. I think he was arrested. The fact that he was arrested is true. It may be because of what he was saying. I don't know, but the information's out there now. Let's get back to France. Okay, so the French election is kind of. Let me get to my notes. I just might as well go to Wikipedia. That's always the way. It's held every 5 years under the Constitution of the Republic. It's the fifth. They're on their fifth republic now, I think. Yeah, it's the president is elected to a 5-year term in a two-round election, unless a candidate secures an absolute majority in the first round, which has not happened. So they all go head to head, and if there's no majority in the first round, rather than having a hung parliament like they have in Britain, the two biggest winners. Then there's a tiebreaker between them. The third round of the presidential election must be held between 20 to 35 days before a transition of power at the end of the 5-year term of the incumbent office holder. Emmanuel Macron took office on the 14th of May 2017, so the transition of his power is expected to take place at the latest on the 13th of May, which doesn't matter because he's re-elected. Correspondingly, the first round of the presidential election this time was held between the 8th and 20th. Has to be held between the 8th and 23rd of April, 2022. The second held 2 weeks after the first. So we had the detail that it was actually on Sunday. I was actually with Rhiannon and Mike, her partner, and funnily enough, I was sitting there. We were following it because they're very much on our page with, especially Mike. Very much on our page with the political thing. Hello, Luke Griffin. How do you do? And we were sitting there, and suddenly he said, "Hey, guess what? French Polynesia has flipped for Le Pen." And I thought, wow, that's amazing. Because previously they voted for Macron, and I thought, that's a good sign. That's a good sign. And let's just go through your comments. Crafty Nihilist says, there's a way into the underground in tunnels. You know what I mean. True story. Really, I'll have to pick your brains about that. Snarnock says, what happened to your lip? Well, when I went to Wales, as Rhiannon will affirm, she says I've been biting it. It went dry. I got dry lips. I think it's actually it's psychological. Like many of my health problems, it's actually psychosomatic. But as a result, now I've got scabs on my lips and they're cracking a bit, which is so I've got blood there. That's all right. No, Charles hasn't punched me in the face with his baseball bat or anything like that. It hasn't been anything like that. Lisa says, I think the major point is we can never again believe anything that comes out on the mainstream. Truly, we can only listen to the people's news from this point to try and get a real picture of reality. Well, Lisa, is there any way we could possibly overestimate the deception that we've been, when you consider how deceitful they are, how much we are being propagandized, how much we've been given only one side of the story? How do we overestimate that? And David Schultz has actually preempted me with the quote I was going to make later on. So that he says to the French people and the people of the world, quote, those who make peaceful revolution impossible will make violent revolution inevitable. John F. Kennedy, yeah. And France has had a lot of experience of that, and I think they're going to have some more. Caroline McGreen, hello. There is no man-made political solution to a spiritual problem. Christ is the only way. Okay. Well, there's certainly no man-made problem, Caroline. Yeah, I mean, I don't share your religious views, but this is a spiritual war at the end of the day, I think. Tessa, ooh, I've made it. Love to Ben. Hi, Tessa. Tessa1111. Gary Robinson. Ben, mate, I'm getting in bed, getting over visual migraine, also psychological. Look after yourself, mate. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Gary. I mean, if you have to quit, if you have to leave the chat, that's fine. I'm sorry you're not well. But take care of you. You're in bed. Oh, I see. Sure. Okay. Well, if you're not up to posting that and listening and watching, that's fine. You know, I just hope you get well soon. I really do. Sherlock says, "What's your opinion of the former French Prime Minister Hollande?" I'll go into that. I don't know enough about him. It was quite a while ago, wasn't it? He was president. They had Sarkozy. Then they had I don't know. Rick, who is this Musk character exactly? Oh, we'll go into that. Hero Free Speech. Hello, Angel Breath. How are you? That's a good name. So what happened was, obviously the first round came about. I published an article actually in the first round, and I was quite surprised by what happened. Actually, it seemed quite encouraging what happened. Where is it now? French election first round. Yeah, Macron took a blow. Actually, he received a smaller share of the vote than last time, and Le Pen was behind him. Was accordingly to the opinion polls was behind him, but as you know, I mean, I think that, like Styx Hexenhammer, I believe the opinion polls are what's known as push polls. They're actually fake polls, a lot of them, designed to not to gauge public opinion, but to manipulate them. I think if Le Pen had been ahead in the polls, there was no way they would publish that. They would never publish it. They never once published Trump as being ahead in the opinion polls in 2016. They never once published Brexit as being a decisive, the Leave vote campaign in 2016. They never once, in any opinion poll, published the fact that the Leave campaign was way ahead. At least they won by 2%. I know, just 2%, but they never ever said that. Oh, Leave's ahead by 2%. So that's it. So it was a repeat of 2017, but it was much closer this time. And I think few people bear this in mind, but France is actually, people say, well, France might declare martial law. France is already under martial law, and it has been since November 2015, following the terrorist attacks in Paris. Now, there's an interesting story behind this, which involves Marine Le Pen's father, Jean-Marie Le Pen. Again, he's a respected figure. He's one of their most senior statesmen. Many times presidential candidate. He was he barely escaped with his life from his house. A fire started in his house. His house was burnt down, but he escaped with his life. But they tried to. It was obviously an arson, an attempt to kill him. He had said before that he questioned what was the real cause of those attacks, whether it was a kind of 9/11 type thing. Yeah, so that was interesting. So France has been under martial law ever since. It's a state of emergency that they also had during the Algerian War. Now, France has overseas territories like Britain does. It used to have an empire, not as big as the British Empire, but it had an empire. Today, it has, like Britain, has a similar sized collection of overseas territories, usually small islands in the Caribbean and the South Pacific. They get to vote in these elections. So does not Algeria anymore, but so does French Guyana. It's in South America. It's a French territory in South America. They get to vote as well. It's a different system to Britain, where the overseas territories have they're essentially separate political systems. They have a governor and their own. Very often they have their own parliaments. Like the Crown territories, of course, like the Isle of Man and the Channel Islands, and Gibraltar, they have their own parliaments. France, the actual overseas territories are considered départements, that is counties of France itself, so they got to vote too. So I heard that we were sitting there, and I was thinking, yeah, she's ahead. she's won in French Polynesia. And we have who else is there? Let's have a look. Gary Robbins says I'm in the post-migraine phase. I need something to listen to after being unconscious most of the day. So this stream is good timing. Oh, I'm glad, Gary. Well, post as you see fit, but feel free to listen and everything. Michelle Sovereign says whiskey and cigar time. Tessa says Macron got back in by the skin of his teeth. Well, the actual the final result was there was an exit poll, which is always very accurate because it's based on actual votes, not just opinions. It's like a sample, and she it was 58.5% versus 41.5%. So that's a narrow margin. Unfortunately, Macron got a landslide last time, but there was a very low turnout, the lowest since 1969. It was 71.9. That's very low indeed. There's going to be the National Assembly elections on 12th of June. That's the lower house of the French Parliament, which would be the end of this process. But there was a lot of, you see. So I was quite encouraged for a while, but then we sort of like sat around waiting for Rhiannon and Mike and I sat around waiting for the results, and it was not unsurprising. It was not surprising, but it was sad when we found out that Macron just won again. What's different about this election is that the traditional parties have gone. They've literally gone. That is the Socialists and the Republicans, the Gaullists. They've been dominating French politics certainly since the 60s. These are the centre-right and centre-left parties. Basically, Jacques Chirac and Francois Mitterrand and all these people, they've all been part of these parties. Let's see. Jacques Chirac was vice president for a while, or he was prime minister under another president. Let's see. Oh, he died in 2019. I see. Right. Yeah, he was. What is he? He's a prime minister, previously prime minister of France, and then president of France. The prime minister is slightly below the president. The president is the head of state. Where's a list of them? But it's a different because they don't have a royal family. They abolished their monarchy very violently in 1789. So yeah, I'll leave that there. I can't go Wikipedia trawling continuously. Anyway, Rickson, Macron is Klaus's baby boy. Unfortunately, yes. Snarnock says our general election in 2019 was a second referendum in disguise. It pretty much was, Snarnock. I was very happy at the time with the result. But then, of course, it all bloody went apart, didn't it? Boris shit on us, basically, didn't he? Tessa says, tickle that like button. Tickle it! And number one fans, oh, thanks. Hit the like button, yeah. Yeah, someone said, oh, he's a Rothschild banker. Yeah. Snarnock, Macron is very new to politics. He sort of almost burst out onto the scene after a career in finance. Tessa says, create Shangri-La in your own environment, ignore the rest. Yeah, I think if you have to a certain extent or you'll go crazy, you do. Oh, Kamala Harris has caught the COVID. The COVID, you know what. Well, what can I say except... what can I say on YouTube? Get Well, soon. Starnock says Papillon's on Devil's Island of French Guiana. That's right, they used to send the prisoners there. Papillon, I actually watched that whole film for the first time a couple of weeks ago. I saw it. I've seen the first half many times. I've never seen it to the end, so I thought, right, I've got to watch Papillon to the end. It's very good. Very good. Starnock says, I'm sure Macron was very smug with the result, just like Biden. He may be laughing on the other side of his face soon. I hope so. Anyway, I'll talk about that. Lisa says, maybe low turnout is due to less people due to the poison darts. I do wonder, Lisa. I mean, also, there's a very, we're facing a real obstacle here, for whatever the reason, with actually changing anything by voting. Jock of Ages says, have you seen an advert by George Soros denouncing Xi Jinping and the CCP? Oh, right. The Chi-Coms. Maybe Alex Jones will change his mind about the Chi-Coms then. Who's it? George who? Who's George here? Tessa says De Gaulle is the only one I paid attention to. Yeah, he was like he was like the classic French hero. He was in the resistance during World War II. He became president afterwards. Michel Sovereign, I predict an alien invasion next. Michel Sovereign, so do I. Or I think it's something that's on the cards. As I said with the... If you remember my article about the next crisis. Yeah, Dustin Hoffman, Steve McQueen, The Papillon. Do watch it. It's really good. Lisa says, try some apple cider vinegar diluted 4 parts. Filter water on your blister. Home bargain or B&M. Thanks. Oh, it was Thomas Barden-Rees who was recommending that. Yeah. Tessa says, wasn't VP the one of the most VV worded? I'm sure. Well, if she is, then that says, what's that say about how good the V word is? Starnock said the book Papillon and the second sequel Banco by Henri Charrier is very good. Contains a lot of adventure not included in the film. All right. All right. Is Le Pen the Count of Monte Cristo? Oh, right. I don't know. The Count of Monte Cristo is a book by, I think, Alexandre Dumas. It's either Alexandre Dumas or Victor Hugo. I can't remember. French novelist, 19th century French novelist. About a guy who he basically is framed by his ex-friend. They fall out and he frames him and condemns him to a horrible prison called Chateau d'If, where all the prisoners are kept in permanent solitary confinement, and you're never told how long your sentence is, so you don't know how long you're going to be there. And he manages to escape and get his revenge. I don't know, Le Pen is not in jail at the moment, but Alex Fishy says, alien invasion deferred until the end of 2024. Or might be before then, Alex. Rhiannon says, I put some lip balm on it, Ben. Oh, right. Well, I did put if you remember, I put a little bit of my moisturiser on there. Oh, by the way, I've put the clay things in the kettle, and it makes the tea taste better. And I've also got, if you remember, you may have spotted it, based tea. This is a present from Rhiannon's husband. 4 generations. Our cherished blends have been passed from 4 generations since 1896. Based tea. Yep. Thompson's. There it is. That's what I've been drinking at the moment. Hey. Good, isn't it? Who is Alexandre Dumas? Right, you are. Okay. Hugo de Les Mis. That's right, yeah. Les Miserables. That's... I read the book of that. Rick Gordon says, the aliens will land and persuade us we all have to go with them to our own safety and they shall obtain Earth. It's lovely, Rhiannon. It does change. Oh, he's not your husband. Oh, I'm sorry. Pardon me. Pardon me. All right. Significant other, then. Oh, whatever. Sorry, I put my foot in it now, haven't I? All right. So, where was I? Yeah. The first round, it seemed more interesting. Like I said, the mainstream parties were completely kicked out. The mainstream parties of the previous decades were all kicked out, and they were replaced by... Well, Macron's party is like... Well, I say party, it was almost created for him. The story of how Macron got into the presidency is very interesting. He's a man who is ostentationally very camp. I think he's gay. Not, I don't care if he's gay. It's just so he'd be open about it. Oh, all French men are a bit gay anyway. Ooh la la, all that kind of thing. He's got a strange background. He married his school teacher, and she's never faced any criminal charges for the fact that she was in a relationship with him. I don't know if she was even sacked from being a teacher, which normally a teacher that has a relationship with a pupil would face criminal charges, statutory rape, etc., and would be kicked out of the teaching profession. He's still with her now. I suspect that she is his handler rather than his wife. As I said, I get the feeling that he's gay. She's probably his handler. She's probably part of the French intelligence, or maybe CIA, Mossad, MI6, one of those. She's basically controlling him. It usually is the partner. It usually is the boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife who's actually controlling the whole thing. It usually is. Tessa says independence might have influenced over the 2020 election. Well, there was some new figures on the scene. There was. David Schultz says the deterioration of every government begins with the decay of the principles on which it was founded. Baron de Montesquieu. Yeah. There have been some interesting new characters on the scene in this particular election. There was two in particular I think were very influential. I'll go to the list of candidates here. One was called Eric Zemmour. Now he was the supposed other far-right candidate, apart from Marine Le Pen. Although he was saying the kind of things more like that she was saying a few years ago. Get France out of the EU, stop all immigration, stuff like that. He's not scared to mention the great substitution either, which is something you can't actually say what the R word on YouTube. The idea, the fact that there's this agenda to basically mix up the population of the world so it's all homogenous for the New World Order. He wasn't scared to talk about that. Of course, the lefties went nuts and called him a racist and things like that. His background's very interesting. He's actually from Algeria. He's actually what they call a Blackfoot. He comes from he's one, like I say, these people. Algeria used to be a colony of France until it gained its independence in the early 60s. Eric Zemmour comes from that community of people from that area. They call them Blackfeet. He's a Berber Jew, so he's Jewish, which of course will be. No one can accuse you of anti-Semitism now if you support him. Normally they say you're anti-Semitic. Oh, but I want a Jew to be president. How can I be anti-Semitic? So that disarmed a lot of the whiners. When he failed, he actually got. He ended up with 7% of the vote. That's not bad for a newcomer. And he then endorsed Le Pen. He endorsed Marine Le Pen after that. One of only two candidates to do so. The other was Nicolas Dupont-Aignan, known as NDA. This guy he also endorsed Le Pen. There was another guy. Another guy who's very, very important in this election. Again, somebody who's new to the major political scene, and that was Jean-Luc Malone. Now he's got a party called La France Insoumise, which is a kind of like a far left party, democratic socialist left wing populism. He's not unlike Syriza in Greece. So he's kind of like he played that kind of role, and like Syriza, he didn't actually gain, and in fact, it uses the Greek letter phi as its logotype, and there may be a reason for that. He compares himself to actually, what's his name, the guy who runs Syriza, and Jeremy Corbyn. He also And Bernie Sanders, he supports these people. I think he seems to. Cyprus. I know him. What's it, Giorgio Cyprus or whatever his name was. He compares himself to them. He almost overtook Le Pen. He got 21.95 in the first round. He was the runner up at third place. 21.95. Le Pen got 23.13 in the first round. So he came very close to be the challenger for Macron in the second round. That says something interesting. The people have shifted away from the centre. From what I gather, though, I don't think Mélenchon is a kind of like woke, lovey type lefty. He's more like an old-fashioned lefty. But it's pretty clear that the centre has been evacuated, and this is a pattern that's continuing across the world. And as I said, the Gaullists and the Socialists were completely kicked out. And Hidalgo of the Socialist Party got 1.75% of the vote. Philippe Poutou, where are the Gaullists? Oh, Valérie Pécresse got 4.78. Got less than Zemmour. There were a couple of other. There was a new anti-capitalist party, Philippe Poutou. There's something called Lutte Ouvrière, which means the war of something. It's Trotsky's Party of the Communist Union, yeah. The Worker Struggle, yeah. Alright. I thought it was Travailleur. I thought Worker was Travailleur. But she got 0.56, yeah. They tend to be quite radical, the French. Hey guys, how you doing? I'll just go through your comments again. Diego Vera says, is Macron connected to the Da Vinci Code prior of Cyan? I don't know. Is it? That's from a story. It's not real. I mean, no, of course it is. It is real. Sorry, it's from the old what's it called? Holy Blood, Holy Grail. I don't know. Snarlock says Prince Edward has been in the news recently. Has he taken over from Prince Andrew? I don't know. In terms of attending events, etc., I don't know. 69 Phuket says, sur votre vélo means on your bike, yeah. Lisa says, after seeing the last 2 years play out with the baying and trust of governments, then in honesty, it's every human being for themselves in these times. We just do our best and keep faith and help others. I think so, Lisa, yeah, that's kind of a good idea. Buy seeds, says Lisa, yeah. We've got to take care of ourselves, haven't we? Yeah, we've got to take care of. We got to look after your family, look after yourself. Things like that's very important now. Yeah. Tessa says buy water filters. 69 says duct knives were made in France and distributed to the African population. The French suddenly got knifed. All right, I don't know what those are. 69 Phuket. Maureen, hi, how you doing? Lots of love to you too. David Schultz says, then don't forget the French in Vietnam, a gift to the United States. That's right, that was part of the French Empire, remember? French Indochina it was called. There was actually a war there in the 50s before the Americans got involved. Sadly, there's been almost continuous wars in Vietnam. Certainly all from the 1950s to the 70s. I mean, before the Vietnam Wars, we know it, with all the Americans going around playing music and stuff. There was the French War of Indochina, and then after that, when the North won the Vietnamese War in the 70s, China invaded, and there was the war with China. Yeah. Vive la France, says Michel. France is a great nation, yeah. Diego Vera says, Eric Zamore looks like Gollum. He does a bit, doesn't he? I don't know if they deliberately make these fictional characters look like statesmen, but I know that, do you remember Dobby the house elf in Harry Potter? He looks like Putin, doesn't he? Diego Rivera is making a joke. Macron's found Le Pen hard to erase. Le Pencil would have been easier. Oh, very good, very good. Someone else actually. It's someone I can't claim credit for this. It was someone who sometimes posts in chat. Said Le Pen is mightier than the sword. Snarlock says the Vichy French was bad as the Ends during World War Two. Yeah. Oh, the whole story of World War Two, I think, is really totally been lied to terribly. And Snarlock mentions Agent Orange and the Ho Chi Minh Trail, the cloud seeding, the weather modification. Yeah, that's an interesting thing there. That's very interesting. So, that's what's happened, guys. Again, it's interesting. Macron won 66.1% of the vote altogether, with Le Pen's 33.9%. 66-33. These numbers keep coming up, don't they? Let's go to these other news stories. Right, there's a whole list of them here I've got. France divided, but EU delighted over Macron win. Of course, the EU are delighted. He's their man, isn't he? He's their boy. Of course, the BBC are reporting on a voter who says, "I will vote for Macron, but only to keep Le Pen out." I actually thought some of the people who vote for Mélenchon would vote for Le Pen, because even though Mélenchon actually did he endorse a candidate for round two? Let's have a look. Endorsements. Mélenchon did not endorse, just said don't vote for Le Pen. He didn't endorse Macron. He just said don't vote for Le Pen. Right. So he did a negative endorsement. But of course, the BBC say a concerted public effort to keep a far-right or far-right-wing nationalist candidate from becoming president is nothing new in France. Oh, like Marine's father, yeah. But there's the BBC, of course, the establishment is totally and utterly behind Macron, and the EU are now delighted they've got Macron in. Even though you do wonder who's actually voting for them and why. People do nothing but complain. The French do nothing about complain about him. There were huge protests against the lockdown. He was 100% a lockdown person. He just echoed the whole globalist thing about the lockdowns. No doubt, when the food shortages come along, and they are coming, he's going to be behind that as well. So yeah, Brussels is jumping up and down for joy, and no doubt sighing with relief. I don't know how long for, though. That's the point. How long for? In his victory speech held in front of a backdrop of the French flag at the Eiffel Tower, an unusually humble-sounding Macron admitted that his was a divided country and he will do his best to heal the divisions. First, the looming challenge will be to garner a healthy majority in the parliamentary elections next month. That will be very important. He will do that. I don't know how that will go, but we'll have to wait and see. He's a truly divisive figure in France. But in Brussels, Mr. Macron is beloved, at least compared to his presidential rival. Yeah, all this counter-signalling Le Pen did with Brussels hasn't helped, does it? They're still against her. Macron is a huge EU enthusiast whose campaign team handed out EU flags alongside election pamphlets at his rally. His long-discussed proposal was to make Europe more independent. You make Europe independent, but not France. Right. And the EU's second largest economy and only big military power. Now the UK has left. Yeah. Germany, of course, is the biggest. Funny thing about France, France, during the Cold War, France was a bit of a loose cannon. It was considered neither on one side nor the other. France has always had a strong communist party, a strong far right. They've had a very in-out relationship with NATO. They sort of got in, then got out, then sort of got in, and then left. And they have an independent nuclear deterrent. Peter Wright's famous book, the one they tried to ban, Spycatcher. I was quite surprised when I read that because he was in MI5, and you'd think the prime purpose of MI5 would be to spy on the USSR. This was the Cold War, and go to their embassies and spy on them. But he spent most of his time spying on the French. French has an independent nuclear deterrent, including ballistic missiles, second strike, retaliatory strike submarines like Trident. All of those things. They're a major nuclear power, which they developed, and they were testing their nukes in French Polynesia, if you remember. I think it was French Polynesia. This may be why they ended up voting for Le Pen. So Brussels is over the moon. EU leaders congratulate the French President Macron. Oh, great. Let's go through these. 69 Phuket says Putin thinks Macron is a pussy. Well, he's right. He's right. Let's go through through these things. I'm trying to keep up with your comments now, guys. Bandit Buster, hello. Are any of these elections genuine? Well, we'll come to that, Bandit Buster. 69 Phuket says, I fancy Angela Rayner. She looks like a bloody alien. And she's really obnoxious. Snarnock, do you know of any French truth or red-pilled YT channels? There may be some out there that I can't find, because the French, you see, generally don't. Not many of them speak English, unlike the Germans who learn English. Most French people don't speak English. Jock of Ages says Gary Epi. Jean-Francois Gary Epi is Canadian, but he comes from the French-speaking area of Quebec. Sarnock says the establishment want a representative president puppet in every country in the world. Yes, they do. Where are we now? Jock says Gary Appy's not much of a truther, actually. No, I don't know. He's a bit slimy. He has that kind of like. It's like, I mean, French Canadian. He's not French, but he's French Canadian. But he has that kind of Gallic, smooth, sort of superficial kind of suspicion about him. You know. Tessa says I blame the French Revolution. The French Revolution was orchestrated by Freemasons. Absolutely true, and the Bavarian Illuminati. It's an interesting story. Diego Rivera says, what about France and UFOs? Will there be disclosure? Would the French treat an alien like they treat frogs? I think they need to be more concerned about the aliens treating the French like the French treat frogs. If you're French, you might have some reptilian nibbling on your legs. But France and UFOs is an interesting thing, because they had this thing called Cometa, which is a bit like... It was a bit like Project Condign, but it was more recent and it was more in detailed. But they published this thing which is not unlike the UAPTF stuff. Bernie Tucker says, Ben, when you go to France, you will have to have a salad sandwich. It's amazing, the best thing I've ever had. Oh, French grub, of course, is absolutely second to none. And the wine, if you drink wine, it's a wine drinker's paradise. I mean, wine is not only exceptionally good, it's exceptionally cheap. I went there before the Euro changeover, but a glass of wine in France is like it's 2 francs, which is roughly 23 pence. 23 pence for a glass of wine. It's ridiculously cheap and incredibly good. Carla Hernandez, hello Carla. I'm shocked. UK News reveals UK makes it legal to hunt humans, not foxes. I think they've been doing that for a long time, unfortunately. Rhiannon says it depends how rubbery the frog like the aliens are. I don't think I'd want to eat aliens, Rhiannon. I really wouldn't. Tessa mentions the Languedoc. France has a lot of different cultures within it, domestic cultures. Languedoc has its own sort of language. Well, there's the Languedoc and the Languedoc. So there's various dialects of French which merge into different, who are often quite strong, and they have a Celtic language, Breton, which is spoken in Brittany. They have Basque in the southwest. There's a few Catalan speakers in the southeast. Yeah, but French gourmet food, yeah, absolutely gorgeous. Although the snails and frog legs I never had. Snarnock said, would you drink wine from the Rothschild estates in France? God, yes. Yeah. Yeah, Lisa says the elites have been hunting children. Yeah, there's a long, horrible story behind it, and I think it ties in with the whole Sarah Everard situation and Kathy O'Brien. David Splendid Isolation, hello, how are you? Bandit Buster, was the final stand of the Cathars somewhere in France? Yes, it was, Montségur, which is it's actually in the south of France, not far from Rennes-le-Château, and it's an incredible story, a sad story, But there's something called the Albigensian Crusade. They basically they exterminated the Cathars. Snarlock says Jacob Rothschild sounds like he's demonically possessed. I think he's not demonically possessed. He's a bloody demon. He really is. David says in the Middle Ages they made wine in Scotland because of natural global warming. Yes, the medieval warm period. Peaceful Warrior, salute, brother. How are you? How are you, Peaceful Warrior? Thanks for joining us. Okay, back to the notes. Back to my notes. Now, the question is what actually... I said, why did so many people vote for this horrible little squid? This ghastly little clean-shaven, very... oh, sorry, just a sec. Sorry, my daughter's just messaged me. Alright. This clean-shaven, slimy, smooth-suited, typically French, very much like J.F. Gary Appy. No, I do listen to J.F. Gary Appy, and he's sometimes interesting. Macron, though, is just... He's like... There was this video on podcast of the Lotus Eaters. Where is it? Let me just find it. It was called. It's on. I don't watch them on YouTube. I watch them on Odyssey. Cookie cutter politicians, the plastic politicians of globalism, and they feature people like Justin Trudeau, Kamala Harris, and people. How similar they are, and how shallow they are, how lacking in charisma, how obviously insincere, and how patronising they are. How they talk to people like they're stupid, because that's how they see us. They see us as stupid. They see us as with contempt. So they say really stupid things to us. And that's what Macron is one of these people. I mean, Macron looks like a twin brother of bloody Justin Trudeau. What's the difference between them? It's a while, but it's a while before I saw like them two together. I mean, one's got more of a beard than the other because the other one probably can't grow a beard. Yeah. So, Tessa says Pope Innocent III, which he wasn't innocent, and the French King Tak Long Doc. That's right, they killed the Cathars. That's right. Snarnock says, I'm sure Macron is a member of the Shiner Black Eye Club. I don't know what that means. Welsh Ripper says, wish my wife was as dirty as the French team, but don't tell her I said that. Well, she might be watching, Welsh Ripper. So the question is, why did so many people vote for him? Now, of course, there's an obvious answer to this, which I have to be careful how I say it on YouTube, that they didn't. Because they did nothing. This is what bothers me. Whenever you go through this cycle, a very unpopular and obviously despicable leader appears. Oh, Lisa says they have a black eye. Oh yeah, Prince Philip had his black eye, didn't he? And so did what's his name, the guy in Germany. That's weird, yeah. I get it now. Thanks. They're obviously unpleasant. They're obviously unpopular. People do nothing but complain about them in vast numbers during their term. They do horrible things that are very unpopular. The lockdown is an obvious one, but Macron did other things. He increased immigration and things like that. And then when election comes around, they just vote for them again. They suddenly say they vote for this person. They re-elect them. It's very, very weird. Now, the question is, did they? Now, there's this article here I want to read out. I'll just show it to you briefly. I don't need to keep things on display capture, do I? But this is Explainer. How France's old school voting system works. And we have here a guy placing his vote. A man cast his vote in the second round of the presidential election in Marseille. Far-right candidate Marine Le Pen and centrist candidate, are facing each other. Okay. You get the image, you get the picture, don't you? But it says here, ballot papers. This is it's surprisingly crude and old-fashioned. This is an old-style voting system. Ballot papers are tucked into paper envelopes. They literally, you get sent your ballot paper with, it usually has leaflets in as promoting various candidates, and all the candidates are allowed to put their leaflets in there. And your ballot paper is tucked into the paper envelopes with the name of each candidate on. You just then put in whichever candidate you want into the ballot box. You just fold that one, you fold it over, you put it in the ballot box. There's no electronic voting, no absentee voting, no early voting either. French voters use an old school system that defies calls for more flexibility and modernisation. Very wisely too. The voters make their choice in a booth with the curtains closed and then place the ballot in an envelope. Oh, they don't fold it in half, sorry. They place it in an envelope and then put it into a transparent ballot box. They must show photo identification and sign a document next to their name to complete the process. Machine voting has been allowed on an experimental basis, but the purchase of new machines was frozen in 2008 due to security concerns. Only about 60 communes still use them, out of the 35,000 in France. The commune is basically a district. Last year, Macron's centrist government tried to pass an amendment to allow early voting by machine. I bet they did. To encourage electoral participation amid the COVID-19 pandemic. The Senate, led by a Conservative majority, rejected the measures, arguing it was announced with too little notice and wasn't solid legally. A nationwide effort to streamline voter rolls, notably to remove people who had died or changed addresses, led some people unable to vote for the first round on April the 10th. There are no absentee vote. If you want to, you can't postal vote. You have to get someone to vote for you in proxy, and you have to sign a document at a police station. If you want someone to vote by proxy, it says here mail-in voting was banned in 1975 amid fears of potential fraud. People who can't go to the polls for various reasons can authorise someone else to vote for them, but filling out a form ahead of the time and bringing it to a police station. Blimey. About 7% of people vote by proxy. French people living abroad vote in embassies or consulates. All right. You have to send in no postal voting. Local authorities can organise vans and buses to pick up older people from nursing homes to bring them to voting stations. And prisons have voting stations inside their facilities. Prisoners can vote there. Volunteers count the ballot one by hand. Officials then use state-run software to register and report results. But legally, only paper ballots count. If the result is challenged, the paper ballots are recounted manually. For the small number of towns using machines, the results are registered locally and they're reported to the Interior Ministry when they oversee elections. The ministry received no reports of irregularities involving voting machines in the first round, April 10th. Well, they with only 60 machines, it's not worth it, is it? You can wet you up. People are strongly advised to wear a mask and follow other health guidelines. You can wash your hands at polling stations with hand sanitizer if you want. If you want to do that, yeah. Anyway, where are we now? Okay. So, Slimy Macron has won. But, what's going to happen? The thing is, again, it sounds to me like a pretty secure system. It's similar to the British one. But does that mean, and I've got to be careful what I say now, what does that mean in terms of the possibility of shenanigans? I'll just go through your comments now. 69 Foucault, I've never had truffles. No, truffles are a type of mushroom, yeah. But they're very, very expensive. They're very they can't be cultivated. They have to be found foraged in the woods, which is why they're expensive. They have they have to be found. Mostly dogs sniff them out. Traditionally, use a pig, and they're put into. They're very, very expensive. And I see the Black Eye Club. John Nolan says, "How come Putin has become the bad guy? Because because he's like the Trump that succeeded. He's the one that's not part of the globalist system. That's why they don't like him. He was never meant to be. He was never meant to lead a country. He was leading a country. He was somebody who was never meant to lead that country, and the country itself was never meant to exist. The deep states aren't perfect. They make mistakes. They get things wrong. People often talk about them like they're omnipotent and omniscient. They know everything, and they control everything, and they know everything. No, they don't. And then less than ever. This is the good news. Less than ever they are now. I'll just go back through your comments here. Carla Hernandez says, years ago on Alex Jones, he started a sex slave escaped from Rothschild Castle in France. He made it seem police SWAT were going live, then nothing happened. Right, Carla. I mean, I don't know about that particular case, but I know others have, such as Cisco Wheeler, Kathy O'Brien, lots of others. Too many to make out it didn't happen, especially when you consider the very, very suspicious crimes that have taken place, such as Michel Dutroux and Wayne Couzens, who murdered Sarah Everard. David Splendid Isolation said, did you really expect Le Pen to win? Not expect, David, I hoped. Peaceful Warrior says, if Le Pen was a carpet muncher, she would have won, let's face it. I don't think that really makes any difference these days, Peaceful Warrior. I don't think it does. David says exit polling isn't allowed in France. No, what they do instead is they have sample counts that are done in first. They always count these in the first place, and they publish these in advance. Barry Fridge, hello. Hey Ben, where do you recommend I should get my news from? Oh, definitely Hapanwo Voice. You say hashtag Hapanwo. Well, obviously Hapanwo Voice, my news blog, but also GB News is quite good. Several others. I'd say if you live in Britain, GB News, definitely. Snark, do you follow Luke from We Are Changed? No, I used to. I don't anymore. And people are mentioning Elon Musk. Yeah, well, I think I'll have to stay off Elon Musk right now, because it was just, I'll go on for ages. I'll go on a massive tangent. Hello, Armand Adams. How are you? Tessa says, lines go round the block trying to use the 10 voting machines in our city. Are you in the US, Tessa? I'm just going through as many of your comments as I can. Hello, Michael Snow. Hello, how do you do? People are talking about truffles. I've never actually... I did eat truffles once. TK, hello, TK. How do you do? Bonjour. Yeah. I learned French at school, but I got actually C in GCSE, C grade GCSE. So that's quite good. That's quite high. David says, remember Aaron Russo? How could we forget him? Yeah. Now, there's a video, like I said, on Gemma O'Doherty's channel on BitChute. As I said, the great, wonderful Gemma O'Doherty, banned from YouTube. I follow her on Alt Tech. Irish one, I think should be a hero of Ireland, has got this video. It's just a short video, and it's called. Let me just find it. In mine. Just find it. Where is it? See notifications. Where was it? Okay. Oops. Yeah, it's called Quelle Surprise, reports emerge of something I can't say on YouTube in the French election. Now, what actually happens is it's only a short video. It's 1 minute 57 seconds, and you see a French guy. Now, I can't speak French anymore. I learnt it, like I said, but this was when I was a kid. But it's pretty clear he's showing you the ballots that come in the envelopes. These are not postal ballots; they just send you the ballot papers in the envelope, and he opens them up and shows if these are second round ballots, which only have 2 ballot papers in, one for Le Pen, the other for Macron, and he has 3 separate envelopes, and he points out that the Le Pen ballot papers appear to be marked by a little cut on the side of them. Now, I don't know how significant that is. I don't see how that actually would have any effect on the whole situation. I don't. Hello, Sue Hayward Tonkin. How are you? How are you? Hope you're all right. And Nihilist Lives Matter. Greetings. 5 more years of Macron. Europe is effed. Well, maybe not. I'm coming to it. There is. I think we're going to have to. We're going to talk about this in a little while because. I'm just going through these comments. Michel Sovereign is there. That's nice. Occult monuments everywhere, says Lisa, in Israel. They're everywhere in the world, I think, aren't they? No. The question remains. What am I doing now? Oh, so I've just got another message from my daughter. Sorry, family life goes on. All right. Let me just. Someone's mentioned Eurotrash. I used to like that. Yeah, there was that very French guy, Antoine de Caunes, he was called, who spoke English, but he made no attempt to cover up his accent. It was quite funny. All right, guys. So now the potential for you know what. Hello, Lightswallow. How are you doing? The potential for you know what is much less prevalent in the French system than it is, say, in the US system. What you need for you know what is, firstly, there's several ways they can do you know what, and I've talked about those on other videos, mostly on all tech sites. Postal voting. Postal voting is very, very important for you know what. You don't have to know what's inside every single envelope. You recognise them as electoral posts, and you just deal with the particular envelopes from particular areas where a certain candidate is more popular. You just dispose of certain ones and don't dispose of the others, depending on who your candidate is. If it's coming from an area where that candidate you don't want is there, you dispose of the envelopes. You find some way to get rid of them. That actually happened in the US. There were actually postmen involved in it. There's all kinds of other ways of getting rid of postal votes. When you put your postal vote into an envelope, it leaves your possession. You don't know where the hell it's going. The other thing you can do for you know what, electronic, of course, it is absolutely infamous, electronic voting. You know, people are reported pressing a button for one candidate and another one appears. They get printed a different receipt. The Dominion Voting Solutions has been investigated thoroughly. You know about the Kraken and all that sort of thing. That wasn't just a storm in a teacup. That would have actually Sidney Powell's lawsuit really should have gone much further. It was basically shut down by people who don't want the truth emerging. And then another thing, of course, is the you can just deliver certain. Even this, you don't actually. This is another point. This actually would work under the French system and the British system. you deliver extra boxes of whatever sort of thing you want. And you could in the US in the 2020 election in the US, it was very obvious you had those big F graphs, didn't you? It was very obvious something fiddly was going on. There's no evidence to suggest that happened with the French election actually. The Gem O'Doherty's video, the pen ballot papers had little snips in them. But what difference would that make? If they were put in deliberately because they were Le Pen votes, would it have made any difference? If the counting people were like in on it, then they could easily just open up and see who it is rather than look at the little snip on the paper. So I'm not sure exactly how that's evidence for electoral you know what. But there's another big problem, which is sometimes you just, when it comes to, Latter says 42% of Le Pen is like 60% of the actual ethnically French population. That's an important point. Yeah, one of the reasons, these left-wing parties are actually being used for the global homogenization project by saying, oh well, what was it? Labour said. Which is the left say we'll wipe the right's nose in diversity because they know that immigrants tend to vote to the sort of centre left, don't they? Peaceful Warrior, see you, Peaceful Warrior. Take care. Thanks for joining us. That's it. Rub the Tory's face in diversity, says Knowledge Lives Matter. That's the phrase I was looking for. Now, the problem is that when it comes to the issues to do with the state of the world right now, Michelle Sovereign says I'm ethnically effed, just white, fucked. I'll say fucked. Why not? We are all adults here. Yeah, if you're a white person, white people. It's Christy Winters, white people. David says, shiver all to Rwanda. Oh, the Rwanda thing is hilarious. Oh, God. It's hilarious. Yeah, Lisa says, according to, they want us to eat the bugs, don't they, Lisa? Eat the bugs and stay in the pod. You will be happy, and you will own nothing. Yeah, not me. But the way the system works, right? When it comes to the system in democratic countries, there are the two main problems are you know what, which probably is only like about 10% of the whole problem. The other problem, 90% of it, is something different. Now, when you're very good at the old 90% bit, you don't need the 10%. You don't need the you know what. You don't need to do it. And that is that. Democratic countries now, because we have this system which is called democracy, where people allegedly can choose their own leader, but for some reason why is it then democratic countries are led by some of the most appalling and repulsive people imaginable? Democratic leaders they're stupid, they're cowardly, they're weak, they're corrupt, they're cruel, heartless, every single negative personality trait you can imagine is embodied in these individuals. And despite the fact that we're supposed to be able to choose our own leaders, we vote for them, and we can choose them. These scum keep rising to the top, but no one seems to know why, or even let alone how to stop them. I mean, these democratic leaders there's a terrible malaise in democratic countries, especially in Britain, which is the mother of all parliaments, it caused, which is that they're terribly unpopular. I mean, some democratic councillors, MPs, they have approval ratings in single figures, yet they get re-elected. Why is that? I mean, Macron is a perfect example of that. He's everything that people complain about in a statesman, embodied in incarnate form. He's everything that people say, oh, I hate these politicians because they're A, B, and C. And he's there in front of you. And he's a walking example of everything you hate. But they vote for him. People, better the devil you know, David. He says, yeah, David, this is the point. Most people in democratic countries are voting for negative reasons. They're voting for somebody they don't like to keep someone they like even less out of power. Most people will vote for negative rather than positive reasons. A lot of people in this French election voted for Macron because they don't like Le Pen. That's happened before, as I explained. Joyce, are you serious? Hello, how are you? Now, this is a big problem because you don't need the you know what. When the problem we have is that the deep state have a really tight stranglehold on. Welsh Ripper says, can't we send Diane Abbott to France to count the votes? That's a good one, Joe. That's a good one, Welsh Ripper, yeah. And the problem is that without, as I said, we're not going to talk about the thing you can't talk about on YouTube in detail. That's only kind of a last resort. It's only what they do when the primary. It's an auxiliary last resort that they bring in when the primary method doesn't work, as it didn't in 2020. And that, unfortunately, is that what the bad guys, the cabal, the deep state, the Illuminati do, is they use their control over the media to propagandize the population. They propagandize the population to thinking and feeling and therefore behaving in a certain way. And unfortunately, most people within that population do not have the analytical abilities to resist that propaganda, to think their way out of it. They can't. They literally cannot think their way out of it. See, most people aren't like us. That's the thing we've got to remember. I don't want to sound arrogant here, but most people are not like us. They don't think things through. They don't look. They say they do. They say, "Oh, don't trust Paul. Don't trust him. Don't trust that person." But the media is telling them to vote for this person, and they will. They'll just go out and they'll cast their ballot for the person the establishment backs. So all the complaining they did about Macron, all about the fact that Macron is one of these horrible people, like Trudeau, he's one of these cookie-cutter politicians, as Sargon of Akkad called them. Despite that fact, when it comes down to it, normies are called normies for a reason, says Dave, yeah. John Nolan says, oh, right. John Nolan says, I was listening to the last show you did with Kev Baker. I miss Freaky Friday. Oh, John. Someone did actually post the last show I did, yeah. And Rhiannon Jones says, sadly, most people want someone else to do their thinking for them. That's true. Most people are not like us. Most people are different to us. Now, that's really not news, is it? Because we know, like, this is why I'm careful over who I talk to about the things I think about, because it's got me into terrible trouble. And it's people turn against me. They start sneering. They don't tell me why I'm wrong, but it's like, you see, my dad, my own father, is one of these people. I don't debate with him anymore. I've even lied to him about my beliefs to avoid getting into these debates. He asked me, for example, if I'd had the V word. I said, yeah, I've had it. Have you had your booster yet? Yeah, I've had it. And the reason I do this is because I've had these conversations. He's one of these people. You know, I try to debate with him, and he's sort of like, he comes out with some kind of establishment line. And I used to say, that's wrong because, and he'd go, yeah, and I got the feeling that it was all going into one ear and out the other. And I'd win every single debate I had with him. He was unable to defend his position, and at the end I said, so you see, you're wrong there, don't you? You're wrong about this, aren't you? And he said, no, I'm right. Unfortunately, most people are like that. You know the NPC meme? The NPC, non-player character thing that went round. Which basically was the old Wojak thing with the matchstick men eyes and mouth and nose. It's horrible. It sounds so arrogant. It sounds so demeaning. But if it's true, it explains so much about human nature. If you assume it's true, it's like a key that unlocks a door. It's like or decodes a message. That the NPCs are not psychopaths, for example. Sarnock talks about here. Blair Gates have the eyes of a psychopath. They do. They have these dead eyes, these sort of like painted on corpse eyes. I know. The NPCs are different. NPCs are not psychopaths. NPCs can feel empathy. They have a sense of principle. You know, they're not 100% selfish. Yet they are. They have no internal dialogue. They appear from people question them about thinking things through and daydreaming and having internal dialogue. They don't have that. This means they are incapable of changing their minds about anything without some external mental stimulus. You can't just give them a piece of information, put it in the newspaper. They go away and they think about it and they think, oh, but that's not true. NPCs are not capable of doing that. And NPCs appear to be a large number, even maybe the majority of the population. Psychopaths, luckily, are a minority. There's like 6 to 7% of people, I think. There are pseudo-psychopaths. Many of the NPCs are actually pseudo-psychopathic. That is, they exhibit psychopathic behaviour when they're not psychopaths, because for the reasons I've just explained, because they're fed propaganda. Lisa says, my dad was massively awake compared to others, born in 1928, but in the end he was the same. He told me once, he's older than me and knows more, and I gave up after that. Yeah, I'm pretty much in the same position, Lisa, there. I actually get on quite well with my dad now. So this means, unfortunately, that we have a little bit of a dilemma here. And this French election has really brought it to the front, and I think I'm not the only one thinking that. I think some very, very significant and powerful people are thinking the same thing. Because I said months ago that this election would be a crucial turning point, and I think it will be. What do you do, though? We have a situation where the democratic process is supposedly sacred and sacrosanct. You can't go against the will of the people. Yet the will of the people is not the will of the people. The people have been made proxies for the will of the elite, of the Illuminati, the deep state, the cabal. Because they are propagandized, and we know we're being propagandized. We know that over the Ukraine war, as I explained in my video with Nick Colostrom, we've been given one side of that war, and the government are doing everything they can to prevent us getting the other side. This is why they banned RT. You have to get some effort. They can't. Thing is, the good news is in this internet age, the way it is at the moment, you can't actually ban things completely. You could just make it very difficult for people to access it, and count on the fact that most people won't bother trying. I mean, I do watch RT. I watch it on Odyssey. I watch it through a VPN. Also, I watch Coach Red Pill. You see, Coach Red Pill is one of these. He's an amateur journalist who, again, is a hole in the dike if you're willing to go and look through it. So what do we do? What do we do? Hello, Football Man Gamer. How are you? Now, I published an article a little while ago. I'll just find it. Because something significant. I think this is going to be a very significant thing. Where is it now? Oh, dear me, I used the wrong search term. Here we go. In May last year, I published something called A Warning from France. A Warning for France. And I think this is going to be very important, I think. I'm checking I've got all the details here. How are you guys getting on anyway? I'll go to the live stream here. Oh, Tessa says 41 states might secede. In the US, I don't. The way things are going, I don't think the US is going to like. How much longer is it going to last in its current form? Tessa says, tickles you like bouton. Thanks. For my French listeners, oh man, I'm afraid I can't speak your language anymore. I used to. Now, as I say, France is different from Britain. I mean, we're both sort of democratic countries, but France, we tend to glide smoothly from election to election, from monarch to monarch. Britain has a remarkably stable society. France, on the other hand, is a very unstable society. I think they're on their fifth republic now. There were numerous revolutions in France. I mean, the famous one in 1789 was very, very. Was of course the classic one, the French Revolution. But there's been others since. There was the rise of Napoleon. There was the fall of Napoleon. There was the Napoleon II, Napoleon III. There was the Third Republic, Second, Third, Fourth Republic. There was the Vichy government. Things like that. And when these things happened, it seems that when we British, when we experience some kind of constitutional crisis, we tend to deal with it calmly. We're diplomatic. We stop for tea. France doesn't. France descends into chaos and civil war, where there's riots, and very often there's a lot of judicial beheadings. There's a reason why I chose the slide I did for the notice, which I can't say on YouTube, but I have a particularly desired outcome for this particular crisis they're in right now. They are standing on the brink of another. I think they're not standing on the brink of it. They're now in another political inferno. Now, 2 open letters were sent to Macron last year. The second one was published in a magazine called Valeur and was signed by over 1,000 people. Most of them were military servicemen, including 20 former generals of the military. And another one was sent on the 27th of last month, and it read along similar lines. There were 2 that were sent. I say the 27th of last month. Sorry, I'm reading from my article now. I mean April last year, a year ago this was. And Marine Le Pen, when she read these letters, she praised them. And she's actually stated now, since her defeat, that she will not abandon the French people. I don't think she will. I think she probably knows what's going to happen next, or what might happen next. Now, I can't. There's several translations of these letters. I can't speak French anymore, but there's no doubt that the letter is a warning that the country is heading for, the descent into chaos that it's heading for. These are the economic problems. It's the lockdown. It's also the fact that there was like runaway immigration. Ritual murders and is now very, very common. Vandalism of churches has become endemic, and this even includes Notre Dame. Now, the Notre Dame in Paris suffered a fire. This 800-year-old beautiful cathedral suffered a fire, which destroyed a large proportion of it. And they said, "Oh, it must have been an electrical fault," even though the electrics were switched off there. And it was being renovated by experts in in renovating old buildings. No, I think that was an act of arson. There's been numerous acts of arson and vandalism on churches, and it's what I'm saying here basically is this warning was that if things don't change, there's going to be a coup d'état, and there's a good reason why English borrowed that word from the French, because of the unstable nature of French society and the fact that these things, if there is some massive upheaval involving military confrontation and a takeover of the government and riots, beheadings, things like that, it wouldn't be the first time. It wouldn't be the first time France has been through this ordeal by fire. And as I said, people have forgotten this. In November 2015, there were these terrorist attacks, which were the news reports were questionable of their actual factual nature. Jean-Marie Le Pen, a very senior statesman, mentioned that he thought this was like another 9/11, and almost was, and there was an attempt on his life. And France was put under martial law in November 2015, and that state of emergency has never ended. Troops patrol the streets in France. the cause of France's strife is the New World Order. Internal enemies are trying to break down the culture and society through methods including mass immigration, the deliberate radicalization of its Muslim population. The same thing's been done all over the West, but it's very advanced in France. I mean, I've not been to France since I was a little kid, really. But people who go there describe it as looking like a cross between a refugee camp and an open air prison. You know, it's like you go through France now, and it's like even when I went as I was a little kid, there were lots of Algerians there who were trying to sell me things on the streets and things like that. Now it's like even like under the Eiffel Tower, where Macron did his victory speech. It's basically there's one of these camps, one of these open air camps where foreign nationals who've recently arrived in the country are just homeless, just lying there, begging from people, hawking wares, intimidating people, trying to make white people feel guilty, that sort of thing, to get money. And this is, a lot of French people resent these. They resent this. I mean, there's no point resenting the individuals. I mean, the individual people. There's no point having to go at them. They're being used. They're victims. There's as much victims in this situation as we are. If the forces causing them to come to France are lifted, it'd be very easy to persuade them to return to their homelands. They're only here because they've been brought here, contrary to popular belief. So these generals are now they can see the way the country's going, and from their position, what do? Of course, the answer is to respect democracy, isn't it? Democracy. They cut off hundreds of thousands of people's heads for democracy, to create their republic, to abolish the monarchy. Like I said, they even beheaded the king and queen. The people there's a reason. The reason the French adopted the guillotine as the execution method is very, very simple, and this is why I'm concerned that FEMA seem to be very keen on it in the United States. Because if you want to kill large numbers of people in an organised manner, it's the quickest way to do it. Other methods such as firing squads, poison gas, things like that, they're not as efficient. If you want to kill vast numbers of people, you use the guillotine, because then you can just line them up and go next, next, next. In fact, during execution sessions in the Terror following the 1789 revolution, during the Revolutionary Terror, up to 5,000 or 6,000 people could die in a single execution session, in a single day. But they see the country going. They see what's happening to the country. What are they going to do? They have two options. You can respect democracy. Like I said, all this was done for what they believed was a greater purpose. Of course, it was orchestrated by the Freemasons and things like that, but they believed they were doing it for a greater purpose. And all this bloodshed was worth it in the end, they believed. And now this republic is descending into chaos again, and is going to come out as probably some kind of. It's going to turn into some kind of hellhole. I'm very interested, actually. I've become very fond of dystopian French literature. Now, there are a lot of very, very good dystopian near-future novels set in France. Now, there's The Camp of the Saints by I've forgot the name of the author. Someone in chat will remind me in a minute. There's Camp of the Saints. This was a 70s novel. There's Submission by Michel Houellebecq, that became an international bestseller. And there's a less well-known one called The Partisan by Fenech Soler. Now, the author is actually Welsh, not French, but it's still a very, very good book. It's by a guy who knows a lot about French. I'm going to Google it. I hate it when I can't think of something. Someone will probably put it in. Camp of the Saints. Jean Raspail. Yes, Jean Raspail. Someone's probably already put it in the chat. Okay, and I got in there first. Okay, I googled it. Jean Raspail, Camp of the Saints. And this I think captures the mood of the nation. they portray France set in the near future, in which there is all the problems we see in the world right now are they've kind of like been projected into the future to get much, much, much worse. So, all right, somebody's been. Dr. Respect, hello, says, I have a question. How long do you think humanity has been destroying itself along with nature? Roughly 100 years, 1,000 years? What do you say? If you want to go back to the beginning, probably, I'd say, seriously, probably in the industrial period of the last couple of centuries. But if you want to know where the whole thing came from, it was the rise of the Illuminati in Sumer, which is like the late 4th millennium BC. So we're going back like 5,000 years. Armand says, oh yeah, another great movie, Ben, is The City of Lost Children. Diego Rivera says, was it a head count at the French election? I think there's a little bit of a joke there, Diego Rivera, and I can't actually say on YouTube, but I do hope they will be counting heads very soon in France. So that these people, these are patriotic Frenchmen who see the democratic process. They see people like Le Pen trying to put things right within the system. Trying to put things right within the system, and for the reasons I've explained, and it's not just that you know what, I don't think that really is a factor in France. I've seen no evidence to see it's a factor in France. It is the other method, the 90% method, which is the fact that people keep voting for the enemy, the internal enemy, the foreign, the occupier, the globalist occupier. They keep voting for them again and again and again because they can't do anything else, because they're not capable of considering otherwise, because they don't have the kind of mind they can do that. So what do you do if you are a general in the army, or an ex-general, and you have the loyalty of the military? The military are patriotic too. You are the people who have the force. You are the state is using you, has been using you to patrol the streets of France since the 9/11 false flag attacks in 2015, and assisting the police in like clamping down on people not wearing masks and things like that. What do you do? What do you do when you see the democratic system, which is supposedly sacred, being completely controlled by the very forces that are invading, occupying, and destroying your country? And you suddenly realise you can't use this democratic system to free your country, to fix the problems anymore. That you can stop poison in your body by taking a little bit more poison. The antidote to the poison what's supposed to be the antidote is actually part of the poison. They've turned it into part of the poison. So what do? These generals have a choice. Now, they can just sit there with their guns unloaded and at rest and watch their country destroyed, turned into a client state of the New World Order, where there's so few French people, and it's not even France anymore. All the churches are destroyed. And people are basically their country is basically in a gigantic prison camp on the surface and a mass grave below the surface. They can do that, or they can use the power they have, the power of force, to try and put it right by occupying basically reconquering their country. I say occupying, conquering, but it's conquering your country from an internal enemy. So, which choice are they going to make? I know what I would do. Someone's going to say something like, yes, but it's awful. I mean, I've been against this. You see, during the whole Brexit thing, I was against the idea of subverting democracy. But I'm sorry to say that was because at that point, that was one of the few occasions where democracy actually worked the way it's meant to. That was one of the occasions it worked the way it's meant to. And now it's gone back. Now it's reverted to being a cover for globalist interests like it has before, and it's destroying people who want to change, who want to make things better. They're just being shackled. They're being held back by democracy, by French democracy. Marine Le Pen wanted to get into... Marine Le Pen was the one who wanted to make things better. She praised the generals for this. No doubt the generals are very much on her side. But the globalist deep state once again moved in, took over the process and just wheeled back in old cookie cutter Macron again. The little globalist clone back in power, re-elected. So what's going to happen next? What are they going to do? TK, have the NWO won again? For the time being, they have in France, yes, but supposing there's like a 17th letter of the alphabet thing in France. What I'm saying is we may well see now a military coup d'etat in France, and if that happens, I'm afraid some of you might be shocked by this. But if that did happen, my reaction would be to rejoice for the reasons I've explained. So guys, if you've got any more, I'm going to end soon actually because it's quite late. But is there any more comments? I'll be doing another of these live streams soon because we're going to do the watch party, aren't we? We're doing the watch party for the day the Earth stood still. But anyway, do any of you have anything more you want to say, or any questions you want to ask me about France? Anyone want to say anything? Tessa said random acts of kindness should be on ballots. Oh dear. TK, how can we win, Ben? Well, I think it's gonna. There's no longer a peaceful solution to this. I believe we can't just keep voting for Le Pen, voting for Trump. There's gonna literally good guys with guns are gonna have to put it right in the good old-fashioned way. Tessa, looking forward to Clato. Yeah. Thoughts on Elon Musk Twitter, says user one. I want to finish by 11 because it's getting late, but I'm actually quite pleased this has happened. Of course, I know this is not a guarantee. We know he may suddenly sort of like, take off the mask, as people say, if the mask exists. Oh, Snarlock has recommended a book by Jules Verne, Paris in the 20th Century. All right, I've read the one about the submarine, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and the Journey to the Centre of the Earth. So, yeah, I think he's a good, very early generation sci-fi writer. Lisa says we win by taking back our lives and living in the old ways. Might seem scary, but we'll be happier in the end. Yeah, that is. I think those of us who don't have guns can do that. Those of us who are not the kind of people who the generals are a part. We're not generals basically. Can do that. Thanks, Tessa. I'm glad you've enjoyed this particular live stream. I thought the last one I did about the 1,500 pages is the best live stream I've ever done. I really enjoyed it. Pride and dignity, TK. So is that it? No more questions or comments about France? Is that it? Go to bed, Ben. Thanks. Well, I've got to eat something first. I know I shouldn't eat this late, but it's yeah. See you later down the road, David. Take it easy. Oh, Snarnock said this book was rejected by its original publisher and published in English. All right. Thanks, Lisa. Thank you. I'm glad I had... Yeah, there's another video coming before the watch party, and that is the one I made in Wales with Rhiannon over the weekend, yeah. I'll edit that tomorrow. I might get it uploaded tomorrow evening, actually. Raise your vibration or stay blue, says Michelle. Yeah, definitely. All right, guys. Well, thank you very much, all of you. I'll get the Welsh video uploaded as soon as I can. No, nice, David. Splendid isolation. So, the Q&A, Snarlock. Yep, the Q&A Thursday. Panro Radio. There's a listeners Q&A Thursday. If you think of any more questions about France, you can always join that. Good night, Jock of Ages. Take your elation with you, Ben. I will do. Night, night, user one. Night, night, Phuket. Thank you very much, all of you. It's been another great live stream. I'm sure we may come back to the French situation on a future show. But like I said this would be a turning point, and I think it is. Night, Lisa. Much love. All right then, guys. I'll end it there. Good night, FMG Football Mad Gamer. Good night, David Schultz. Take care. Thank you all of you for joining and participating. Night. Joyce, take care. Thumbs up, Snarnock. Martin Taylor. By the way, I'm thinking of doing more weekday live streams late like this. I think I might have to do the. You see, if I might have to do the watch party for the watch party live stream during the week, because otherwise, because this weekend I can't do it because I'll be doing the review next, and it'll have to wait until basically weekend after next before I do the live stream, which is too long. Take care, Rick Harden. So I might do a weekday. I'll do the review for the film, and then do the live stream next week at 9 p.m. Nighty night, Michelle Sovereign. Take care, guys.